Hello there everyone and welcome to a new review on the channel. Today we're looking at another one of the Penguin Black Friday launch products, and that is Blizzard by Dill. This is one of my favorite of the bunch and one that I think a lot of people are maybe considering or have already bought. So I do think doing a review on it is really pertinent. So let's not talk anymore, roll the intro and get straight into the meat of the review. Perfect, so you decide to stick around, which means you want to learn more about Blizzard. Now, what is Blizzard? Blizzard is a symposium of all the colossal Blizzard effects that Penguin have released. They've released 3 versions of them. They've released the normal one, the one, I think it's 1.0, and then Colossal Blizzard 2.0. So you have all 3 versions in this package, including everything that you need for all of the versions. So that's essentially what Blizzard is. And the effect is a card that's named is the only card that's printed in a deck of cards. A plot that we're all accustomed to, that we probably have tens of dozens of effects like that in our repertoire with gimmicks, etc. But this one is kind of the original, one of the original takes on it, and one that I truly appreciate and like. So let me demonstrate one of the effects to you. Unfortunately, my favorite effect is the one using the gimmick, but since I have no spectators, it's a still camera shot, I think the method is going to get exposed in this scenario. So in respect of Dill and the product, I will not perform that one. I will, however, do the Colossal 2.0 routine for you guys. So as usual, when I don't have a spectator, we're gonna use a die. So we're gonna use the even numbers for red and the uneven numbers for black. So you pull out a deck of cards from your box, you place it on the table and you tell the spectator that in a moment they're gonna think of one card, but they're gonna piece the card together in different steps, because you don't want them to think of an obvious card like the Ace of Spades, for example, or the 7 of Clubs or 7 of Diamonds, obvious cards like that. You want them to piece a card together that maybe they wouldn't have thought of at the start. So first of all, you explain to your spectator that in a deck of cards, there's red cards and there's black cards, and we're gonna take away some of them. So which ones are we gonna take away? In this case, it's even, so we're gonna take away the reds, which means that in the reds, we have the hearts and the diamonds. We'll use even for hearts, uneven for diamonds. So which ones are we gonna use? You're gonna give some of them to me. So which ones are you gonna give to me? Again, even, so they're gonna give me the even cards, which is the hearts. So now I have the hearts in my hand and I'm gonna spread them around just in front of you. And I want you to imagine that you have the Ace of Hearts here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, Jack, Queen, King, all spread out in front of you. Try to imagine that. And I want you to think of just one. And the spectator is going to think of just one. Which one are you thinking of? Let's say they go for, let's just roll the die. Let's say they go for the 2 of hearts. And you tell them, perfect. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to find your card in the deck. So you go through and you tell them that you're going to find their card in the deck right here. This is their card, the 2 of hearts. Just like this, you take it and you place it on the table and you tell them to keep an eye on it. But now you tell them that, was that an impressive trick? They're probably gonna say no, that it wasn't an impressive trick and that it's pretty obvious that that's the 2 of hearts. But what's actually more interesting is not the 2 of hearts itself, is the rest of the deck surrounding the 2 of hearts that's important. Can you take a look? They didn't take the cards, they spread them out, and every single card in this deck is indeed a blank card. Every single one is blank, except for their thought of 2 of hearts, and this could be examined, handled. You could even give this away as a souvenir if you want to your spectators. So that's essentially Colossal Blizzard 2.0. Now, of course, the routining and everything doesn't translate that well in this type of environment with no spectators, no misdirection, anything, but it kind of gives you the idea of what the effect is and kind of how it plays out. Really, really good in my opinion. So now that that's out of the way, let's get into where do you buy this, how much does it cost, and what do you get? So you can buy this currently at Penguin Magic for $39.99 USD, and what you get is this box. Typical Penguin Magic box and packaging. Inside you get your instructional video, also you get your gimmick. I'll just show it briefly just like that, because I don't think it's gonna give much away. So that's what you get. And on top of that, the instructional video is where the meat of the effect is, because one of the effect uses a gimmick and the provided blank deck. So they provide you with the blank face deck. Use a gimmick and the blank face deck. Then after that routine, there's kind of a documentary / interview with Dill on his approach to this plot, to magic in general, how he got into magic, which is a really interesting interview / documentary to watch. And after that, they give you some variations on the effect. One of them that uses kind of a normal deck, and you kind of have the spectator name almost any card. And then you have this variation, which I think to most of you, which are a bit more seasoned into magic, you have an idea of how the process kind of works. But this is a really great addition to it. So essentially you get all of the Colossal Blizzard effects into one packaging with what you need to perform, the blank deck, the gimmick, etc. So that's what you get in your packaging. Now, before we continue, I do want to say that the second routine in the collection, I really don't like. I think there's too many moves. It's not inspectable. It's weird in handling. It has too many turnovers. The way you display the cards is fishy. It's constrained. I really don't like it personally. So as we move on through the review, I'm mostly going to talk about the gimmicked version, which I haven't performed, that uses the gimmick in the box, and this version, which is the 2.0. So keep that in mind, because I think that this is what most people are going to perform and enjoy from the project. And to not make this video 20 minutes long, I'm just going to focus on these two. So what about difficulty? Is this difficult to perform? The answer is no. None of them are really difficult to perform. Both of them do have one move in them. The one that I performed to you right now has one move, and the other one with the gimmick also has only one move that you have to do. So both of them are super easy and only require one move. However, that move is best done with misdirection. For example, with the one in the gimmicks, you give with the one with the gimmick, you give the spectator 4 cards, you ask them to mix them up just like this, and then you ask other people to help them mix them up, and you execute the move. In this routine, again, it doesn't play out as well in the context of a review video with no one here, but usually you ask the spectator to place their hand on the card, and as they place their hand on the card, you tell them that the interest is not on that card, but on the deck. And you give them the deck to examine, and that lets you do the move. So of course, when you have moving people, moving parts, people talking, people watching, interacting, the moves are made easier. So I do think that maybe for a beginner magician, they're gonna think it's too bold or that they're gonna get caught. But I think anyone that's done magic for a bit and that is willing to take a bit of risk, you can do these moves super easily and safe, and no one is ever gonna suspect anything. As well as the fact that if you do the gimmick version and the version that I presented to you, everything that is left on the table is examinable. The card is examinable, the deck is examinable, everything is examinable because it's normal. There's no roughing spray, roughing stick, elastics, anything like that. Everything is examinable, which is great. Is if people suspected something, they're gonna wanna look at what you were handling from the start, and you can clearly give that away without any issue, which I think makes the effect even better and slightly more easier. As well as, I do want to mention this, I'm going to mention it in the positives as well. In the first effect with the gimmick, they can name any card. Any card can be named, no exception. They could even name the Joker if you want. Any card can be named in that variation, which I think it makes it incredible. So I did want to point that out. Whereas, for example, this variation, I won't go into it, but I do think that you do have an idea of the restrictions on the choice of the card. Now that that's out of the way, let's get into practicality. Is this effect practical? Now, the first thing is, no matter what version you do, whether you do this one or the one with the gimmick, you're going to have to carry around an extra deck of blank cards. So that's for starters. So if you want to do this one, you have to carry around your deck of blank cards and your setup. So you're gonna have to carry something additional with you. If you do the gimmick version, you're gonna have to carry around your blank deck as well as the gimmick. And the gimmick is a bit bulky, so you're not gonna be able to keep it in your pants pocket whatsoever or walk around with it 24/7. It's either gonna go in a jacket, in your carrying case, or For example, in a bag, if you have a bag or anything like that, if you're going to a night out and you have a bag with you, you place it in your bag. There's not something that you're going to carry around in your pocket or back pockets because you're going to wear it down. You can even possibly break it, damage it. So it's definitely not something that I think you're going to be able to carry around just going in through street performances. Which gets me to my next point. You need a table for the gimmick variation. If you want to do the one with the gimmick, there is no workaround to not having a table. You'll need a table 100% of the time if you want to do the cleanest possible version and the one that uses a gimmick. If you want to do the version that I presented to you, you could definitely do this without a table. You could definitely do this just standing up anywhere you want, which is definitely a positive, that you have the flexibility to pick and choose between the routines that you want to do and the air and like where you can perform them, which gets me into the next category of my review is where do you perform this? Well, let's go with the gimmick variation first. That one requires a table. So you're gonna perform that in walk around settings. You're gonna perform that parlor. You're gonna perform that maybe in your stage shows if you want. But basically anywhere where you have a table, you can perform the gimmick effect. However, the second one, the one that I performed for you, you can perform it anywhere. You can do it standing up, you can do it on the street, bars, you can do it at standing tables, wherever you want, wherever your heart desires, you'll be able to perform that, because what you can do is when you take out the card from the deck, you ask the spectator, can you just place your hand flat, keep the card here and place your other hand on top, and then you give it to a second spectator the deck, you give them the deck and you're like, perfect, take a look at these. So you can definitely do it standing up, which is great. Again, flexibility in where to perform and how to perform it, which is definitely great. So that's pretty much all I have to say about kind of the main points of the review. Now I want to get into the positives, the negatives, and my verdict. So let's start with the negatives because there's not many. There's two negatives. Negative number one is if you want to do the gimmick variation, you will need a table and you will need pocket space. Most likely a jacket, a carrying case, a magic bag, or something that has loose pockets where it's not going to be constricting. So yeah, and again, that is not because of how you perform it. You don't have to go in your, I don't want to get too much into it, but you will need a pocket for both to bring out the gimmick and to stow away the gimmick. So you're gonna need pocket space, and you can't do this in jean pocket, right? So keep that in mind. So you're constricted in that regard. Second, the gimmick. In the video, they say that this is an improved gimmick than the original one, because the original one would wear down faster, so they improved it. Now, again, it's an improved gimmick, but I do see it possibly breaking if you sit on it, or if you mishandle it, or maybe if you drop it, or with constant wear and tear, it can possibly deteriorate, which means that eventually maybe in a year or maybe a few years, depending how much you perform this, you're gonna have to rebuy the gimmick, okay? So do keep that in mind, but they do give you versions without the gimmick. They give you alternative handlings where you can perform this without the actual gimmick, which is great. And there's also plenty of resources for you to be able to do the variation that uses normally a gimmick without the gimmick. So that's covered a bit in the download, but I'm sure you can find other resources regarding that as well. So that's mostly my two negatives, is that the gimmick is a bit bulky and you'll have to carry it around and you always need a table. And two is that if ever it breaks, you'll have to find a workaround. And also possibly three is I know some people don't like restricting spectators' choices when selecting cards, and the version that I do does require you to restrict the spectator's choice, but I don't think that's an issue whatsoever, because I don't think they're going to be the wiser to what's going on. So what are the positives? What are the positives? The positives are that you get 3 variations. You can pick and choose. Maybe the variation that I omitted from the review that I really didn't like and I don't feel merits more time to be talked about, because I'm never going to perform it whatsoever and there's so much good to be said about the others. Maybe it's going to appeal to someone. So, you get 3 variations, which is great. Second of all, you can perform this in different scenarios. You can pick and choose what routine to do depending on your scenario, which is a positive. The main positive is it's inspectable. Once the trick is done, everything on the table is fully 100% inspectable. You can even give it as a souvenir to your spectators if you so wish, which is great. Fourth of all, it's it's relatively easy to do, which is also nice. You can focus on presentation, you can focus on your misdirection cues. It's really, really great in that aspect as well. And 5, it's a great effect. It's a great, great, great effect. I love it. Even though there's an effect like this coming out every single week, I think the classics are always the best. And I think that this is one of the, if not the classic of the plot. And I think that instead of having decks with gimmick cards, rough and smooth, uninspectable decks, uninspectable cards, etc., I think this is the best variation to me, whether it's the one with the gimmick or this one. I truly, truly like it. So that's all I have to say about the effect. What is my verdict and how much would I rate it on 10? I would, first of all, would I recommend this product? Yes. I think the only people that I wouldn't recommend this to is people that already own all 3 variations of the plot. If you own the original Blizzard by Dill, if you own the Colossal Blizzard and the Colossal Blizzard 2.0, you're basically paying the $40 for everything that you already own. So of course it's not worth it for you to buy it. But if you only have one variation, or you're interested, or you really like the effect, or you got fooled by it, I do think this is definitely worth your money and you're gonna get a kick out of performing this. And I do think that 90% of people that buy this are gonna do this at least once a week or at every single gig, because it is that strong and that good. So I definitely would recommend Dill's Blizzard. What would I give it out of 10? I would give it a 9 out of 10. A really, really good effect, and one that does, I think, one that is going to please everyone in terms of practicality, where to perform, handling, difficulty, etc. I think it's accessible and very, very good. So that's all I have to say about Dill's Blizzard. Now, if you enjoyed the review, of course, leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below. I love reading your comments down below. Everyone is so positive, always looking to talk more about the effects, which I really, really like. And usually I answer your questions and remarks relatively quickly. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see everyone in my next review, which is going to be The Real Viewer by Penguin Magic as well. See you then.